This section covers chapters 16 through 18 of the Hunger Games. Students need to be able to summarize the main events, explain character development, discuss the themes, identify and describe the symbols, and define any key terms. You also need to be able to summarize the events, basically the career supply plot and Rue's death, as well as the announcement. You need to be able to describe the character development of Rue and Katniss, and explain how the themes, the odds, otherwise known as wealth versus poverty, the importance of appearances, and suffering for entertainment are used in selection. You will also need to identify the significance of the Mockingjay. To begin with, Katniss talks with Rue and she gets information specifically about the career base's location and its setup, where the supplies are kept, what they do during the day, that kind of thing. She also learns a lot about Rue, who is from District 11, the oldest of 6 children, and loves music. She learns during this point in time that Rue will actually sing to the Mockingjays that are present in District 11 to signal that the workday is over. Katniss and Rue use this information to come up with a plan. Rue will be responsible for setting 3 diversion fires that will draw the careers away from their base. Katniss will observe and then move in to destroy the supply pile. They will know that each other is okay based on what they hear the Mockingjay singing, that they will use Rue's song as a signal with the Mockingjays. Katniss watches the careers in their base camp. She sees the pyramids of supplies set off away from camp, and she watches the careers take the bait of Rue's first signal fire. During their discussion of who they will take and who they will leave to guard the camp, she learns that Peeta has been badly injured and is expected to die at any point in time. She also sees Foxface steal from the career pile doing a funny little hop, and thus thinks that the supplies must be booby-trapped. She determines that this booby trap is likely the mines that were previously based around the tribute platforms at the cornucopia battle, and deduces a plan to use her arrows to sever a bag of apples, thus hitting a mine and blowing up the supplies. Once she's done this, she loses her hearing from the concussion and the force of the explosion, and must hide overnight near the career base. The careers come back, they're ticked off. Cato kills the boy from District 3 who set the booby trap in his temper, and the next morning she sees Foxface come out, survey it, find it very funny, and then run away from the tall grasses after hearing the noise. She then heads back towards Rue. She meets the rendezvous point and finds that not only is Rue not there, but the 3rd signal fire was not lit. Becoming concerned, she starts to go looking for Rue and follows her, listening to the Mockingjays. She hears Rue scream and runs to the rescue. The boy from District 1 stabs Rue with a spear just as Katniss arrives. Katniss in turn promptly kills the boy and then is there to witness Rue's final moments. Rue asks Katniss for 2 things. 1, she wants Katniss to win the Hunger Games for both of them. And 2, she asks Katniss to sing. Katniss sings a song for Rue from her district about rebellion, essentially. Following Rue's actual death, Katniss decorates her body with flowers because she cannot bear to let her just go with this gaping wound. And thus, the final scene with Rue in it is Katniss decorating her body and giving her the salute from her own district. After Rue's death, Katniss tears off. She is no longer as secure as she had been. She's very angry. She wants to find the careers and destroy them all, and she's forced to stop for the night. She receives a loaf of bread from a sponsor and realizes that this was actually meant for Rue. It was from District 11. This is unique because usually sponsors pull their gifts after their tribute dies, and instead they sent this one on to Katniss. When she wakes up the next morning, she's kind of depressed and numb. It's very hard for her to get up and get moving, but she does so anyway because she knows that Prim is watching and that sponsors are watching and that she has to move to survive. A trumpet sounds, and she thinks initially that they are declaring a feast, but instead they are declaring a rule change. It is now possible for 2 victors to come out of the games if they both come from the same district. Katniss promptly yells out Peeta's name. As I said before, Rue is the oldest of 6 children. She is musically gifted and thus sings to the mockingjays, which becomes a form of communication. Rue remains very gentle and small and vulnerable, which makes her a stand-in for Prim, Katniss's sister, whom she volunteered in place of. This is significant in the way that Rue has basically started replacing Prim for Katniss. While Katniss is in the Hunger Games, Katniss jokes with Rue, she feels safe and comfortable with Rue, she'll poke Rue in the tummy and make Rue giggle, that kind of thing. And this contributes to a sense of emotional security, which vanishes when Rue dies. This is what we see here. Katniss starts out with a loss of security, which immediately gives way to rage and sends her on a reckless hunt for the careers. But this ultimately culminates in her despair and depression. This shows us that Katniss is not as desensitized to death as she was previously conveyed to be. Hunting does not sway her. Other people dying does not sway her, but people that she cares about and are close to dying is an issue for Katniss, and she's very human about that kind of loss. We also know that she's very attached to her little sister. She's trying to be brave for Prim's sake, and that's why she doesn't show a lot of fear, in addition to it not being good for sponsors. And Rue becomes her proxy, her sister's stand-in during the game, and she's equally attached to Rue. She's also becoming more openly defiant of the Capitol, as we see with her decoration of Rue's body. This is an immediate reaction to Peeta's former declaration that he did not want to die a monster and wished to show the Capitol that he was himself. She does this by decorating Rue's body. Her defiance of the Capitol is still inadvertent, in that while she is trying to defy them and show them they don't own her and this wasn't right, she's not trying to become what she will be by the end of the book. Themes here: the odds with wealth versus poverty. This is completely reversed from its previous advantages. The previously wealthy and more advantaged career pack is now set at equal with the current state of affairs in the impoverished sections. These people can survive more, and so now they have the advantage that the careers don't have all the food. Ironically, it does not give the anticipated comfort, in that they expected to feel safer and better because the careers were now going to be hungry and they weren't going to have the advantage. Instead, Rue dies and Katniss feels more vulnerable than she has to this point in the games. We also see the importance of appearances. There are a lot of really stressful situations in here for Katniss, and she still maintains the appearance of the brave survivor. She shows no fear when she is injured after the explosion that takes out the career supply, and she constantly thinks about not being fearful for Prim's sake. She also does it for survival's sake, because Katniss is very aware that if she maintains this appearance of fearlessness and courageousness, that she is more likely to get the sponsors who will give her gifts and let her survive. We also see suffering for entertainment and its challenge here. Whereas before, the tributes were just more or less anonymous TV characters, decorating Rue's body makes her human. There is something that screams this was not okay about that act, and so it challenges the Capitol's and Panem's belief that the Hunger Games is an acceptable behavior. We also see the Mockingjay come into play here. We saw it before when Katniss was given her pin by Madge back in District 12, and we learned briefly that Mockingjays are mutations, mutated animals spliced together. Essentially, a Mockingjay came from a Jabberjay, a creation made by the Capitol, which, when it was proved useless, the Capitol's failure, they set free. They thought they destroyed them all, but instead some survived and bred with mockingbirds. This created the Mockingjay, which shows a sort of rebellion by the other districts, because the mockingbirds belong to the districts, the Jabberjays came from the Capitol, and this blending of the Capitol's failure has become a tool for the rebellious districts. We also see it being used for communication between Rue and Katniss, and it will show up again later on, which again shows a rebelling force using the catapult's failure against them to outwit them, to survive them. And this is a symbol very strongly associated with Katniss through her pin, and Rue at one point in time says that she trusted Katniss because of the Mockingjay symbol, that mockingjays are kind birds that can be fierce defenders, but in generally speaking, they're just very good things. This will also become a lasting reminder of Rue for Katniss. Your assignments at this point are to complete the practice quiz, answer the discussion question on Edmodo, and read chapters 19 through 21.